Let me tell you something that you probably won't understand until you see it yourself. I have seen a lot in this life. I have tasted success at its peak, and I have fallen into depths that I wouldn't wish on anyone. I have stood on stages where thousands cheered my name, and I have sat alone in rooms where the silence was deafening. I have collected awards, made headlines, and been called a legend. But one day I witnessed something that shook me to my core. And that thing was not applause. It was not fame. It was not money. It was silence. Pure, powerful, sacred silence. I was traveling through a small town. It was evening, and the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and crimson. That is when I heard it. A voice, floating through the air, like it came from another world. It was the Adhan, the Islamic call to prayer. Now I had heard it before from a distance, but that day, something made me stop. There was something in that voice, something that felt like an invitation, like someone was calling out to my soul saying, just stop, just pause for one moment. And so I stopped. I watched as people began gathering outside a mosque. Old men, young men, children, businessmen in suits, laborers in worn-out clothes. They came from different directions, different lives, different struggles. But when they stood in that line, shoulder to shoulder, every difference disappeared. There was no rich or poor anymore, no boss or worker, just human beings standing equal before their Creator. And then they bowed, and then they went down. Their foreheads touched the ground, and in that moment, something inside me shifted. You know what the hardest thing in this world is? It is not climbing to the top. It is not making money. It is not even facing your enemies. The hardest thing is bowing down, because ego does not let you bow. Pride holds you back. The world tells you to stand tall, to never kneel, to always be above everyone else. But there, in that courtyard, I saw men who were leaders in their communities, fathers, warriors in their own right, pressing their faces to the earth. And that was not weakness. That was strength, real strength. Because true power is knowing who you are small in front of. When those men placed their heads on the ground, I felt like they had left this world behind, like there was nothing between them and God anymore. No cameras, no audience, no performance, just surrender. Complete, beautiful surrender. And I will not lie to you, my eyes filled with tears, because I had never seen anything like it. I had been to churches, I had seen people shout and sing and raise their hands. But this was different. This was quiet. This was still. And somehow, that stillness was louder than any choir I had ever heard. Then I started thinking, these people do this 5 times a day, every single day. Fajr, when the world is still asleep. Dur, when everyone is busy with work. Asr, when tiredness sets in. Maghrib, when the day is ending. Isha, when the night has fallen. 5 times they stop everything. 5 times they disconnect from the world. 5 times they reconnect with their Lord. I thought about my own life. The first thing I do in the morning is grab my phone. I check messages, notifications, emails. I listen to the world before I even say good morning to God. But these people, they speak to their master first. They wash their hands, their faces, their feet. And that water is not just water, it is a cleansing. They are washing the world off themselves before they stand in front of the divine. And then they stand in rows, shoulder to shoulder, like an army, like brothers, like one body with one purpose. I had never thought about prayer requiring preparation. I never considered that meeting God might require you to ready yourself first. But watching them, I realized that this was not casual. This was intentional. This was sacred. After that day, something changed inside me. I went back to my normal life, meetings, events, cameras, interviews. But that scene followed me everywhere. At night, when I closed my eyes, I saw those men in prostration. In the morning, when I woke up, I could still hear that call to prayer echoing in my mind. And I asked myself a question that I could not escape. When was the last time I stopped everything just to acknowledge God? When was the last time I said, Lord, you are greater than all of this? And the answer was painful. I could not remember. I used to think that being busy meant being successful, that stopping was a sign of weakness or laziness. But those Muslims taught me something different. Stopping is not weakness. Stopping is a reminder of who the real master is, a reminder that we are not in control, a reminder that no matter how high we climb, we are still small in front of the one who created us. I started learning more. I discovered that in prostration, the forehead touches the ground. The forehead is the highest point of the human body. The forehead is the highest point of the human body. And when you put your highest point at the lowest place, you are saying, I am nothing. You are everything. The world tells us to be the best, to dominate, to stand above everyone else. But Islam teaches something different. It says the higher you rise, the lower you should bow before your Lord. And that paradox amazed me. That true elevation comes from humility. That real greatness is knowing you are not great at all compared to God. I spoke to a brother after the prayer one day. I asked him what he feels when he is in prostration. He looked at me with calm eyes and said, "Brother, when my head is on the ground, that is when I feel closest to the sky." That line hit me deep. I always thought that to reach God, you had to climb, build something big, achieve something massive. But these people, they reached the heavens by falling to the earth. And it was not just men. I saw little children standing beside their fathers, their tiny hands raised, their small voices saying, Amin. I saw women in their veils, so peaceful, so serene, as if the chaos of the world did not touch them at all. This was an entire nation remembering their Lord together. And I thought if every father showed his son how to pray, if every mother taught her daughter how to bow, then these children would never forget where they came from and where they are going. This is legacy. This is generational faith. This is how you build people who do not lose themselves in the noise of the world. I started thinking about my own family. What am I teaching my children? Hustle? Success? Grind? Or am I teaching them the peace that only comes from submitting to the one who made them? There was another thing that struck me deeply. When the prayer ended, they turned to each other and said, Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. In the world, people greet each other with hollow words. What's up? How are you? Phrases that expect no real answer. But these people, every single time they meet someone, they give them a gift, a prayer, a blessing, peace upon you. That is not just a greeting. That is love in its purest form. When I walked out of that mosque that day, everyone around me was calm. No one was rushing. No one was checking their phones. No one looked stressed or anxious. They looked recharged, like they had plugged into something powerful and filled their souls. And then I understood. These people recharge 5 times a day. They unplug from the chaos and connect to the source. That is why they walk in peace. That is why they carry a calmness that the rest of the world is desperately searching for. Now, let me be honest with you. I am not Muslim, but that day I saw something that changed me forever. I realized that faith is not just about religion. Faith is about relationship, a relationship between you and your Creator. And that relationship should exist in everyone, regardless of what they call themselves. Because when you remember who made you, you cannot harm others. When you keep your Lord in your heart, you take care of His creation. That is why these people are so peaceful. They remember 5 times a day. And that remembrance keeps them grounded. There is a verse from the Quran that I came across later. It says, verily, in the remembrance of Allah do hearts find rest. And that is the truth. Peace is not found in cars or mansions or bank accounts. Peace is not found in fame or followers or trophies. Peace is found only in remembrance, in remembering who you belong to. So when people ask me now, what did you see when you watched Muslims pray? I tell them this. I saw silence that was more powerful than any speech. I saw humility that was greater than any crown. I saw discipline that was stronger than any army. I saw love that did not need words to speak. I saw peace that the world cannot give and cannot take away. And most importantly, I saw human beings meeting their Creator. 5 times, every single day. The world may not understand Islam. The world may misunderstand Muslims. The world may not comprehend what prayer really means. But I saw people talking to their Lord. I saw people surrendering their egos, their worries, their pride, everything, and placing it all on the ground before God. And that, my friend, is the most beautiful thing I have ever witnessed in my entire life. If you have watched this whole video, maybe something moved inside you too. Maybe you are thinking about your own life right now. Maybe you are wondering when you last truly stopped. So stop. Today. Right now. Even if just for a moment. Remember your Creator. Because that remembrance, that peace, that connection, it is waiting for you. It has always been waiting for you.